talk about the financials. Dilli Raj of SKS Microfinance joins in to talk about how fundraising has been shaping up. Mr. Raj, morning. You chose against going down the CDR route and chose instead to request banks for additional funding. How much money have you been able to tie up for the next financial year?
Basically, if we were to start from the AP ordinance, in Q3 we were able to access 400 crores. For Q4, post this decision not to go the CDR way, we have been able to access incremental debt of 700 crores with a combination of on and off balance sheet instruments. So far as FY12 requirements are concerned, we are in the process of finalizing our business plan. We'll sit across with the bankers, post the corporate approvals and get their concurrence for additional funding. But the signal is that we would get additional funding, as it is evidenced by the fact that we were able to draw down 700 crores in the month of March alone.
Morning, Mr. Raj. Is this just an interim measure, or do you think eventually, if things stay the way they are, you would have to go in for a CDR inevitably, or do you think you can tide over by taking over, having recourse to debt?
Morning, Uday, and thanks for having us. See, the point is, it's simply a question of separating men from boys. If your net worth is impressive 1,850 crores, and if your AP exposure is a mere 25% of your total portfolio, and if the AP exposure is a fraction of your net worth and not a multiple of net worth, there's no need for any CDR, because our non-AP portfolio collection efficiency is still in the region of 98%, and we have been delivering on our promises to all the bankers, and bankers do appreciate that. So this 700 crores drawdown is not really an interim measure, but it's in terms of confidence building measure by the banks. The real rationale is that if we were to for a moment look at NCR also, now that the priority sector status is here to stay, we don't see any issue in accessing additional funding for us given our balance sheet strength.
What's the situation with regard to AP right now, and how much of a further write down would you expect to take from there over the current quarter and the next?
In terms of the ground reality on AP, pretty much now we have learned to live with the AP MFI Act in terms of registration with DRDOs, data transfer, etc. But there's just one key problem, that is in terms of incremental disbursements, every single credit application has got to be approved by the government authority. We punched in something like 75,000 applications but got approval for a mere 1,200. That's at the unit level, but just want to give a macro view of it. In H1 FY11, all the MFIs together put out 5,000 crores in AP. That number for H2 is a mere 8.5 crores. Now, if you have to look at the SHG lending also, the official data is in place right now. It says that the SHG lending is lagging behind by 1,800 crores. What it means is the AP MFI borrowers are denied of a credit flow of something like 6,800 crores. Even if you shave off 10-20% for consumption need, or for that matter over leveraging or other issues, still there is a vacuum of 5,000 crores. And what has happened is, the way microfinance is structured, be it SHG or MFI, it's working capital finance and to an extent working capital refinance. So the scenario is that millions of micro enterprises in AP, for them the working capital cycle is disrupted. So that's the key issue. So the moment we have the ability to incrementally disperse, then we would see the collections moving up, and that's our real request to the Honorable AP government, because their action of this AP MFI Act has done a good job to the members, in the sense they got interest rate reductions, they've got cleansed the recovery practices, and over leveraging is greatly addressed. But the problem is right now millions of micro borrowers are denied access to capital.
Given your liquidity requirements though going into the next year, is it an option for the SKS group to look at some kind of equity instrument in order to raise that cash?
See, if the query is that do you need any recapitalization to offset any loss that may arise on account of AP, let me say that absolutely there is no need for that. But if equities, if we are looking at diversifying into some of the secured lending portfolio, we have already started piloting gold loans in 5 branches. If we collate the results and the board is happy about the results, and then we want to launch that in a big scale, if there are attendant capital needs, then one could look at it, but not on this this account.
Okay, no, my query is that instead of looking to take more loans from banks, is it an option to look at something like a QIP where you get an investor, give them a slice of stake in SKS and by extension raise a pile of cash for yourselves as well?
Yeah, that option is always there, but our belief is that we could leverage the balance sheet because, as I said today, as we speak, the leverage is a benign 1.5 times. So, even if we have an additional funding requirement, we don't see major hesitation from the banking system to lend money to us. See, one data we need to look at here is if you go by the RBI's trend and progress report, banks are lagging behind in terms of priority sector credit, especially the agri target is missed by some large number of 35,000 crores and weaker section shortfall is 29,000 crores. So what would really happen in FY12 is some of the sector allocation could come down by a particular bank, but then they're going to put all the money in the top leader, who's going to reap the fruits of this consolidation.
Thanks, Mr. Raj, for joining in. That's SKS. The stock's up 2.5% now, so not doing too badly. 2% now at 533.